Hello students, I hope you are doing well, studying properly and learning all your concepts. A crow in the house. A Crow in the House is a story about an injured crow who is adopted by the author Ruskin Bond and his family. The mischievous antics of the crow cause a lot of problems for everyone and in the end because of it cause his own demise. ठीक है, तो एक बार एक young crow था जो अपने nest से गिर गया and was fluttering on the road in danger of being crushed by a car or a tonga or seized by a cat when I picked it up and brought it home. जब Ruskin Bond इसे घर ले आए. It was in a very bad condition, beak gaping and hair dropping, and we did not expect it to live. But my grandfather and I did our best to bring it around. We fed it, prising its beak, gently open with a pencil, pushing in a little bread and milk, then removing the pencil to allow it to swallow. We varied this diet with occasional doses of grandmother's homemade plum wine, and as a result, the young crow was soon on the road to recovery. He was offered his freedom, but he did not take it. Instead, वो क्या करता था? वो अपने आप को घर बना चुका था वहीं पर. Grandmother, Aunt Mabel, and even some of my grandfather's pets objected. मतलब उन्हें नहीं पसंद आया. But there was no way of getting rid of the bird. He took over the administration of the house. We were not sure that he was male, but we called him Caesar. Before long, Caesar was joining us at meal times, besides finding his own grubs or beetles in the gardens. He danced about on the dining table and gave us no peace until he had been given a small bowl of meat, soup and vegetable. तो तब तक वो डांस करता था. He was always restless, fidgeting about, investigating things. He would hop across a table to empty a matchbox of its contents. ठीक है, वो हमेशा चलता रहता था, कूदता रहता था. Rip the daily bird's papers to shreds or overturn a vase of flowers perching on top of Harold's cage. He would peck at the bird's feet, whereupon Harold would swear and scold and try to catch Caesar through the bars. In time, Caesar learned to talk a little, as ravens sometimes do, in a cracked, throaty voice. He would sit for hours outside the window, banging on the glass with the beak, calling, "Hello, hello." He seemed to recognize the click of the gate when I came home from school and would come to the door and with a hop, skip and jump, while he placed his head gently against my mouth. On one of Aunt Mabel's visits, Caesar alighted on her arms and cackled. "Kiss, kiss!" Aunt Mabel was delighted and possibly flattered and leaned forward to a kiss. But Caesar's attention shifted to my aunt's gleaming spectacles and thrusting a tug at the tail of one of the dogs. "That crow will be the ruin of us," grumbled grandmother, picking marigolds off the carpets. "Can't you keep him in a cage?" he said. "Can't you keep him in a cage?" We did try keeping Caesar in a cage, but he was so angry and objected with such fierce cawing and flapping that it was better for our nerves and peace कि उसको बाहर ही घर में रन करने देते. उसको कोई पसंद नहीं था दूसरे crows को join करना in the banyan tree. Grandfather said that this was because वो जंगल का crow था and he loves to stay alone. But it seemed to me that Caesar, having grown used to living with humans on equal terms, had become snobbish and did not wish to mix with his own kind. उसको अब humans ही पसंद थे. ठीक है. He would even squabble with Harold the Hornbill. उसको Hornbill भी नहीं पसंद था. Then as they came out, cloth pegs fascinated him. Neighbors would return from the bazaar to find their washing lying in the mud, no sign of the pegs. वो pegs चुरा लेता था. These two found their way to the top of my cupboard. और वो चुरा के कहाँ रखता था सारे pegs को? रस्किन बॉन्ड के cupboard के ऊपर. These were Caesar's gardening activities that finally led to disaster. He was helping himself of our neighbor's beans when a stick was flung at him, breaking his leg. I carried the unfortunate bird home, and grandfather and I washed the bandaged his leg as best as we could, but it would not mend. Caesar hung his head and no longer talked. और क्या हुआ? धीरे धीरे वो वीक होने लग गया और इस बार होममेड जो वाइन थी उससे भी वो ठीक नहीं हो रहा था. At them with his beak, he knocked them off. Aunt Mabel was never a success with the pets. Aunt Mabel को pets कभी पसंद नहीं आया. Pet or pest? Grandmother insisted that Caesar was a pest, in spite of the engaging habits. If he had restricted his activities to our own house, it would not have been so bad. पर क्या प्रॉब्लम थी? वो अपनी एक्टिविटीज़ दूसरे के घर भी जाता था. स्टीलिंग पेन्स एंड पेंसिल्स, हेयर रिबन्स, कॉम्स, keys, shuttlecocks, toothbrushes and false teeth. He was especially fond of toothbrushes and made a collection of them on top of my cupboard. अब वो क्या करता था? वो सबके टूथब्रश लेके टूथब्रश सेल्स वेंट अप दैट ईयर क्योंकि सबके टूथब्रश खत्म हो गए. So did my grandmother's pressure. Caesar spied on the children going into the banya shop and often snatched the sweets. In the morning, I found him dead on the sofa, his legs stiff in the air. एक दिन सोफे पे Caesar dead मिला. Poor Caesar, his antisocial habits had led to his early end. वो क्या? He passed away early because of his habits. I dug a shallow grave in the garden and buried him there, along with the toothbrushes and clothes he had collected. So he finally buried Caesar. This is by Ruskin Bond. Word meanings. Seized, grasped suddenly. Pricing, opening with difficulty. Objected, opposed. Grubs, insect larvae. Fidgeting, moving around easily. Nerves, a state of excitement. Contemptuous, looking down upon someone. Squabble, a small fight. Represented, symbolized. Antisocial, against the norms and values of the society. Objective type questions. The young crow had fallen from the tree. ये आप खुद से करोगे. I dug a shallow grave in the garden. अब है subjective type question. Who was Caesar? He was a crow. And who founded Ruskin Bond? बाकी आप खुद से करोगे. ये question भी you'll do on your own. अब है writing skills. You are Sia or Saurabh, a newspaper reporter who saw Shubh's performance on stage on 28th March 1894. आपको क्या लिखना है? एक newspaper report लिखनी है. ठीक है, तो आप क्या लिखोगे? You'll write a newspaper report over here. अब क्या करना है? Grammatical skills. Rewrite the sentences as directed. I am decorating my room. Are you decorating your room? Question mark. ऐसे ही आप बाकी सारे करोगे. अब है activity skills. First, what was the story about? The story was about a crow whose name was Caesar. Similarly, you will answer all of these questions. ये सारे questions आप खुद से करोगे. This is a picture of a girl studying. I hope you understood this chapter properly. Read it again and revise all the questions to understand it even better.